two primary colors mix to form a secondary color. An example of a secondary color is yellow, which is formed when red and green mixes. Complementary colors are any two colors that produce white, gray, or black when mixed together. Examples are red and green, as well as blue and yellow. An object has a particular color because it reflects one color and absorbs all the others. Black objects absorb all the colors. The two main parts of the plant, so we're on to plants now. The two main parts of the plant are the shoot and the root. The two main parts of the plant are the shoot and the root. The shoot of the plant is above the soil and consists of the stem, leaves, buds, and flowers. Functions of the stem include holds up and spaces out the leaves to receive enough sun and air. The stem also carries water and mineral salts from the roots to the rest of the plant. The stem also holds up the flower for pollination, and the stem also stores food and water, that is, some stems. Functions of the leaf include the leaf allows for photosynthesis. The leaf allows plants to breathe, and the leaves store food. Some leaves store food. Tiny openings called pores or stomata on the back of the leaf allows the plant to breathe. Water evaporates from the pores by a process called transpiration. Transpiration helps to cool the plant. Functions of the roots include the roots hold the plant firmly in the soil. Some roots store food, that is, some roots are actually food that we eat, like carrot. Carrot is a root. Roots also absorb water and mineral salts from the soil. Germination is when a seed begins to grow. Taproot is the main root. Side roots, also called lateral roots, grow out from the taproot, that is the main root. Side roots grow out from the taproot, or side roots grow out from the main roots. Okay, so lateral roots grow out from the main root or from the taproots. When there is no main root that can be recognized, the root is called a fibrous root. Grass and cereal plants have fibrous roots. The part of the plant that is responsible for reproduction is the flower. So the part of the plant that is responsible for reproduction is the flower. The flower is made up of the male reproductive part, the female reproductive part, the sepals, and the petals. The male reproductive part of the flower is called the stamen. It is made up of the filament and the anther. The filament is a long green stalk. The anther is at the tip of the filament. The anther contains pollen sacs in which pollen grains are formed. Pollen grains contain the male reproductive cells of the flower. The female reproductive part of the flower is called the pistil. It is made up of the style, stigma, ovary, and ovules. The style is a stalk at the top of which is the stigma. At the bottom of the style is the ovary, which contains ovules. Ovules are the female reproductive cells of the flower. Each ovule contains an egg cell. So the male reproductive part of the flower is the stamen, and the female reproductive part of the flower is the pistil. Pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma in pollination and fertilization. In fertilization of the flower, pollination first takes place. Wind, birds, insects, and other animals transfer the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Pollen tubes then grow down through the style to the ovary. The male reproductive cell in the pollen grain then joins with the egg cell in the ovule. This is fertilization. Germination then happens. The ovary grows into a fruit and the ovules into seeds. So, wind, birds, insects, and other animals transfer pollen grains from the anther in the male reproductive part of the flower to the stigma in the female reproductive part of the flower, and fertilization takes place. So pollination first takes place. That's a transfer of the pollen grains from the male part of the flower to the female part of the flower. Then fertilization takes place when the male and female reproductive egg cells join together. When seeds germinate, they grow into new plants. Insects, birds, and other animals pollinate brightly colored flowers. So the colors attract the animals. The color of the flowers attract the insects, birds, and animals, and they by moving around, eating part of the flower, transfer the pollen grains from the male reproductive section of the flower to the female reproductive section of the flower. Wind pollinated flowers are not brightly colored, so those that wind do the pollination for, those flowers don't need to be brightly colored, because the wind cannot see, so nature has designed it that way. So wind pollinated flowers are not brightly colored. Organs working together in the body towards one purpose are called systems. Systems in the body include the digestive system, the reproductive system, and the muscular system. So all the organs in the digestive system work towards digestion. All the organs in the reproductive system works towards reproduction, and all the organs in the system we call the muscular system all work towards using our muscles. The skeleton supports the body's frame and form. The skeleton supports the body's shape and form. There are over 200 bones in the human body. Bone is a living tissue. Some bones contain marrow, and marrow makes blood and stores fat. Cartilage is soft material located between bones. Ligaments hold bones together. Joint is the part where two bones meet. The three main types of joints are hinge joints. Hinge joints allow back and forth movement. Example, your elbow, which goes back and forth. Ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint allows rotating movement. It goes around, such as the hip. And a fixed joint allow no movement. No movement occurs in the skull. So that's an example of a joint. The skull has joints that doesn't allow movement. Muscles are attached to the bones by tendons. The muscles in our bodies are arranged in pairs. Muscles pull, but they don't push. Muscles therefore pull in opposite directions. Voluntary muscles. Voluntary means you decide to do something on your own. So voluntary muscles are moved when you decide to move them. Involuntary muscles work by themselves, that is automatically. An example of an involuntary muscle that you have no control of are the muscles of the heart. So an example of involuntary muscles are the heart muscles. The two main muscles in the arm are the biceps and the triceps. The biceps are the large muscles at the top of your arm. So the biceps are at the top of your arm. Someone say flex your biceps, and you squeeze up your arm and your muscles show at the top there. So your biceps are the muscles at the top of your arm. So the biceps are the large muscles on the top of your arm that contract when you raise your arm. The triceps are the smaller muscles on the back of your arm that extend when you raise your arm. Those are the bottom of your arm. The triceps are at the bottom of your arm, on the other side of the biceps, on the other side of the bone. So the triceps are on the other side of the bone from the biceps. The muscles in our bodies are arranged in pairs. When one muscle contracts, the other relaxes or extends. Vertebrates are animals that have backbone, or animals that have bone. So vertebrates are animals that have backbone or bones. Examples are humans, like us, we have bones. Examples of vertebrates are humans, cats, and crocodiles. Invertebrates are animals that do not have bones or invertebrates are animals that do not have backbone or bones. Examples are worms, spiders, and jellyfish. All insects are invertebrates. Insects don't have bones, so insects are invertebrates. Thank you for watching. You should watch these GSAT videos over and over again until you know them from memory. Repetition is important. You can always message me if you have any questions or need further help using my email address, my Facebook page, or the telephone numbers that are shown on the screen. So bye bye for now. Bye bye.